I never imagined I'd be here telling you this story. My name is Jake. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in the small town of Asheville, North Carolina. I've lived my whole life here, where people know you by name, where everyone's business is everyone's business. But the thing is, I've never been good at letting people in. Maybe that's why I did what I did for her. I wanted to fix things. I wanted to save someone. I thought I was doing the right thing. I gave her everything, help, a future, a chance to escape. But in the end, she betrayed me. It was a cold evening, the kind where the chill gets into your bones no matter how many layers you wear. I was walking back from the office when I saw her. Lila. At first, I thought she was just another person lost in the streets, one of the countless faces I passed by every day without a second thought. But there was something about her, something that stopped me dead in my tracks. She was sitting against a brick wall, her knees drawn up to her chest, and her eyes were vacant, like she had given up. The weight of the world was on her shoulders, but no one seemed to notice. I'd been hearing about the homeless problem in the city, but it never felt real until I saw her. It was the kind of thing you read about, not the kind of thing you actually witness. I don't know why I stopped. Maybe it was the way her eyes met mine, or maybe it was the nagging feeling in my gut that something needed to be done. I couldn't just walk away. I approached her cautiously, asking if she needed help. She hesitated at first, but when she spoke, it was like the floodgates opened. Lila told me her story, how she had once had a family, a life, a home. How everything fell apart when her mother passed and her father, struggling with addiction, disappeared. She had nothing left. She had tried to make it on her own, but the streets were brutal, unforgiving. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't walk away like everyone else had. So I offered her a way out, a chance to turn her life around. I gave her a place to stay, put her in touch with people who could help, gave her a job at my family's business. I thought if I gave her the tools, she could rebuild herself. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was helping. But somewhere along the way, I missed the signs. I didn't see it coming. The betrayal. I didn't know her name then, but I saw something in her, a determination, a hunger for something better. It wasn't just the despair in her eyes, the way she clung to the little that was left of her dignity. No, it was more than that. There was this quiet fire in her, like she was still trying to find a way out, even when it felt impossible. Maybe I saw too much of myself in her. I knew what it was like to feel trapped, to want more but not know how to reach it. So I asked her, no, I offered her, a chance to leave all of that behind. I told her I could help. I took her back to my place that night. It wasn't much, but it was a roof over her head. I could see the hesitation in her eyes as I showed her to the spare room, but she didn't argue. She was too tired to argue. I made her a hot meal, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, she ate without worrying if she had enough for tomorrow. There was something humbling about that, watching her take that first bite, like she didn't even realize how hungry she had been. I can't accept this, she said softly, the words barely above a whisper as she pushed the plate away after a few bites. I watched her for a moment before responding. You don't have to accept anything, I said. This is just a place to start. If you want it. I could tell she was skeptical, probably waiting for the catch. Everyone else had a reason for helping, so why was I different? But I wasn't asking for anything in return. Not yet, anyway. Over the next few days, I taught her the basics, job applications, how to clean a house properly, little things that could help her make a fresh start. I showed her how to build a resume, how to present herself in an interview, even how to dress for success. It wasn't much, but it was a way out. Lila, she learned fast. She picked up everything I taught her with an eagerness that surprised me. There was something in her that wanted more. Every now and then, I'd catch her looking at me with that grateful smile, but there was always something behind her eyes, a subtle vulnerability, like she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I saw it, but I didn't question it. I thought it was just the weight of her past still holding her back. Maybe she didn't trust that someone could actually help her without expecting something in return. But I kept pushing her, kept offering her more. After all, that's what I was here for, to show her that there was another way. Better way. I had faith in her. I believed that she could change her life. And for a while it seemed like she was on the right path. She was learning, working hard. Every day I saw her transform, like she was shedding the old skin of who she used to be and slowly becoming something new, something stronger. I couldn't help but feel proud. She wasn't the same girl I found in that alley. The fire I had seen in her eyes back then was burning brighter now, fueled by the life she was building for herself. We grew close, but there was always something. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. A shift in the air, a flicker of doubt, maybe. But I told myself it was nothing. I wanted to believe the best in her. She had come so far and I had put so much into helping her. Why wouldn't she want to stay on the right path? I started giving her more responsibility at the business. First, it was small things, overseeing some of the inventory, helping out with customer orders. But as time went on, I promoted her. I knew she was capable of more, so I pushed her to take on bigger projects. Watching her handle tasks with confidence, seeing the pride in her work, was like watching a flower bloom after years of being buried in the dirt. There were moments where I could almost see the old Lila, the girl from the streets, slipping away, replaced by someone else. Someone who deserved a real chance at life. And I liked it. I liked seeing her come into her own, becoming someone who could stand on her feet, someone who didn't need help anymore. Felt good. But with every promotion, every new step forward, I noticed that our relationship began to shift too. It wasn't just the professional stuff. We started spending more time together outside of work, grabbing coffee, talking about our pasts, sharing bits of ourselves we hadn't let anyone else see. There were moments when we laughed so easily, like nothing else in the world mattered. We'd sit at a small cafe on a quiet afternoon, and for those few minutes I could forget everything else. My work, the pressures, the past. It was just us. She told me about her dreams, things she had never said aloud before. About how she wanted to own a home, start a family, live without fear of losing everything. I listened, and for once I believed she might actually make it. And somewhere between those conversations I realized something. Lila was the closest person I had now. I had given her everything, my trust, my help, my time, and she had taken it all in stride. We had both come a long way, and for a while, I allowed myself to think that maybe this wasn't just about helping her escape poverty. Maybe it was about something more. I cared for her. I didn't know when it happened, but I cared for her in a way I hadn't expected. And for a moment, just a moment, I thought maybe we had a future together. Maybe she wasn't just someone I helped. Maybe she was someone who could help me too. Someone who would always be by my side. But I couldn't see what was coming. Not yet. I noticed little things at first. Secretive phone calls, whispers behind closed doors. She'd glance over her shoulder before picking up her phone, like she didn't want anyone to hear. It was subtle, but I caught it. Then there were the late nights at work. She started staying after hours, working on special projects, she said, but she wouldn't tell me much about them. Her focus began to shift, and I could feel it. But I wanted to believe in her. I kept telling myself that I was being paranoid, that I was just overthinking things. She had come so far. I had put so much into helping her, and she had promised me that she was grateful, that she was committed to making a new life for herself. I told myself that I was imagining things, that everything was fine. But things weren't fine. Not really. One evening, I stopped by the office later than usual, and I found her texting on her phone again. This time it wasn't just a quick glance. She was typing something, her face tense, eyes scanning the screen like she was waiting for something, or someone. The air between us felt heavy, like I had walked into something I wasn't supposed to see. She didn't even hear me approach until I was right behind her. "Who are you texting?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, but the doubt was creeping in now, filling the space between us. Lila jumped slightly, looking up at me with wide eyes. She quickly put the phone face down on the desk. "Just work stuff," she said, her voice a little too calm, too practiced. "Really? You've been staying late a lot lately. Are you sure there's nothing else going on?" I tried to make it sound light, but the tension was there in my voice. She hesitated for a moment before nodding quickly. "Yeah, just work, Jake. Nothing to worry about." But I was starting to worry. The feeling in my gut was getting harder to ignore. She was acting strange, distant, and now there was this sense of secrecy hanging between us. A few days later, I had another one of those gut check moments. I was at a coffee shop across the street from the office, grabbing a quick break when I saw him. A man in a dark coat, someone I hadn't seen before, standing just outside the window watching Lila's car. He looked off. Dangerous even. He wasn't just a passerby. I could feel my blood run cold as I watched him. Then he looked up and saw me staring. He quickly turned away, walking down the street, but something in his eyes stayed with me. Later that evening I asked Lila about it. I didn't want to seem like I was accusing her of anything, but I had to know. Who was that man? The one outside earlier today? He looked like he was watching you, I asked, my voice steady but my heart racing. She froze. Just for a second, but long enough to make my heart skip a beat. Then she brushed it off, forcing a smile. I don't know him. Maybe he was just someone passing by. I don't recognize him at all. But the way she said it didn't sound convincing. There was something off in her tone, something that didn't sit right with me. She was lying, or at least she wasn't telling me the whole truth. It wasn't like the Lila I'd helped. The Lila I knew wouldn't act like this, wouldn't dodge the truth like that. But I wanted to believe her. I didn't want to face the possibility that I had been wrong about everything. So I brushed it off. Again. But deep down I knew something had changed. I never imagined she could be a part of this. I should have seen it coming, but love blinds you. It clouds your judgment, makes you trust people in ways you shouldn't. I let my guard down. I thought I was helping her build something better, but in the end she was building something of her own. At my expense. It all started with a phone call, one I'll never forget. My phone rang late one evening as I was sitting in my office, finalizing some paperwork. The name on the screen made my stomach tighten. Richard. My business rival. We had clashed before, and I didn't expect anything good to come from this call. Jake. Richard's voice came through the receiver, sharp and confident. I thought you should know something. I've been keeping an eye on your business. And it seems like someone close to you has been feeding me a little too much information. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? I demanded, my grip tightening around the phone. I had a feeling I knew where this was going, but I couldn't bring myself to believe it. You really don't know? Richard chuckled, a hint of mockery in his voice. Lila, Jake. She's been feeding me everything. Your strategies, your plans, your weaknesses. Helping me make moves against you. My heart stopped. The words felt like a punch to the gut. Lila? She had been a part of this? I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I just sat there, staring at the wall in disbelief. I have to admit, Richard continued, she's been a great asset. Too bad you didn't see it sooner. I hung up the phone, my head spinning. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The betrayal was so real, so raw, that it felt like I was suffocating. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but the pieces, those little things I had ignored, were starting to fit together. I couldn't sit there anymore. I needed to confront her. It hadn't been long ago when I'd caught Lila. Just a few hours earlier, I had seen her, standing across the street talking to someone in the shadows. The same man I had seen weeks ago, the one outside the cafe, the one who had been watching her. But this time I could see it clearly. Lila and Richard. Together. Talking like they were partners, like they were in on something. I didn't confront her then. I was too shaken, too angry to act rationally. I needed answers. I stormed into her office later that night. Lila was sitting at her desk, typing away, completely unaware that everything was about to unravel. I slammed the door behind me, the sound echoing through the room. You and Richard, I spat, unable to keep the fury from my voice. How long has this been going on? How long have you been working with him? Lila didn't flinch. Her eyes met mine with a coldness I hadn't seen before. She didn't seem surprised. She didn't even look guilty. You really think I was going to stay your poor little servant forever? Her voice was sharp, as if every word had been calculated. I've worked hard to get where I am now. I don't need you anymore. I never did. I felt the weight of her words hit me like a slap. I had helped her escape poverty. I had given her everything, trusted her like no one else. And this was how she repaid me. You've been lying to me this whole time, haven't you? I asked, my voice breaking. You used me. You used my trust, my kindness, just to climb higher. Her eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a smirk. Don't pretend like you didn't see it coming, Jake. I'm not some charity case. I'm not just going to sit around and wait for you to throw me a bone. I've got my own plans now. And Richard, he's the future. Not you. I couldn't breathe. My world had just collapsed. The woman I had helped, who I had believed in, had been playing me from the start. The anger that surged through me was almost unbearable, but it was nothing compared to the pain. The pain of being betrayed by someone I had trusted. Get out, I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion. Just, get out. Lila didn't say another word. She didn't have to. She turned and walked out of my office, leaving me standing there, broken, in the wreckage of my own decisions. The betrayal had come, and I had never seen it coming. I gave you everything, and you sold me out, to him? To destroy me? The words felt like they were burning on my tongue, but they came out like fire, desperate and raw. I couldn't understand how I got here, how I had trusted her so completely, only to be betrayed by the very person I thought I was saving. The anger was searing, but the betrayal, that was what hurt the most. It cut deeper than anything else. I had given her a chance to rise, a chance to start over, and this was how she repaid me. I burst into the office. She was standing there, leaning against the desk, her arms crossed as if she were waiting for this moment, prepared for it. She didn't look surprised to see me, didn't even flinch. That only made the anger rise higher in my chest. You sold me out, Lila, I spat, my voice shaking with fury. You sold everything I gave you, the help, the trust, the chance, and you handed it all over to Richard. What the hell is wrong with you? She stood still, her face cold, expression unbothered. It was like she'd been waiting for me to figure it out, and when I did, she wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't going to explain herself. I didn't need you, Lila said, her voice surprisingly calm. It hit me harder than any slap could. I only needed your help to get out. And now I can stand on my own. The words pierced through me. There was no remorse, no apology, just cold calculation. The woman I thought I had helped escape poverty, the one I had believed in, now looked at me like I was nothing more than a tool. A stepping stone on her way up. I gave you everything. I shouted, my fists clenching at my sides. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to ruin everything for me. She raised an eyebrow, like she was bored of the conversation already. I'm not your charity case, Jake. You helped me when I needed it. But you were never a permanent solution. I'm not staying stuck in that life forever, and you knew that. You can't be mad that I took the opportunity when it came. I couldn't believe it. All this time, I had thought we had something real. A connection that went beyond business, beyond me just helping her. But to her, I was nothing more than a means to an end. I stood there, frozen, my chest tight with disbelief. My mind was racing, but my heart was aching. I had been blind, I realized. I had been too trusting, too willing to believe the best in someone who only saw me as a stepping stone. But I wasn't going to just stand there and let her destroy everything I'd worked for. I was done being the fool. The anger was no longer the most powerful feeling in me, it was action. I had to fix this. I'll clean up your mess, Lila, I said, my voice low and dangerous. But this is far from over. I turned and walked out of the office, my mind already working, already planning my next move. I called my contacts, trusted people who could help me pick up the pieces. I wasn't going to let her tear my life apart. I had to take control of the damage she had caused, and I wasn't going to let her get away with this. No one crosses me and gets away with it. As I dialed the number of my lawyer, I couldn't help but feel a sense of finality. Lila was out of my life for good now. The trust one had given her was shattered, and so was the person I used to be. But this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of the fight. I thought I could trust her, but now all I have left is a broken heart and a damaged business. I couldn't escape the sting of it no matter how hard I tried. It wasn't just the betrayal itself, it was everything that came with it. The lies, the manipulation, the way she made me believe she was someone worth saving. She wasn't just a business partner, she was someone I had let into my life, someone I thought I understood. But in the end, she wasn't the person I thought she was. She wasn't the person I wanted her to be. The days that followed felt like a blur. I threw myself into the work, rebuilding, repairing, trying to salvage what was left of my business after Lila's betrayal. I had to cut ties with some of my employees, those who had sided with her, who had helped her along the way. That was the hardest part. I had trusted them too, believed they were loyal. But they were just as complicit in the damage she had caused. I shifted my focus, putting all my energy into fixing what was broken. I hired new people, people I could trust, people who understood that loyalty wasn't something I'd take for granted anymore. I changed the way I ran things, tighter control, sharper instincts. No more blind trust. And as I worked, a part of me started to harden. I swore to myself that I would never let anyone take advantage of my kindness again. Never again would I offer someone a chance, a way out, without knowing who they really were first. I had learned that lesson the hard way, and there was no going back. But as much as I threw myself into work, I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest. I couldn't forget the person I had believed in, the person I thought I was helping. She was gone. And so was a part of me. The trust, the optimism, it was all shattered. But life didn't stop, and neither could I. I had a business to rebuild. I had a future to focus on. The pain of betrayal would always linger, but it wouldn't define me. I would make sure of that. I would rebuild, stronger, smarter, and more guarded than before. And no one would ever be able to take advantage of me again. I knew there was a price to pay for betrayal. She thought she was free, but the world has a way of catching up to you. It always does. I had moved on. Or at least I was trying to. My business was slowly recovering, and my life was beginning to stabilize. But I couldn't completely escape the memory of what happened. No matter how much I focused on the future, a part of me was still haunted by what Lila had done. But Lila? She wasn't so lucky. It didn't take long for Richard to turn on her. As soon as Lila had served her purpose, he dropped her like a bad habit. The alliance they'd built, a temporary, opportunistic thing, crumbled just as fast as it had started. Richard didn't need her anymore. She had no value to him once she had given him all the information he wanted. I heard the whispers through the grapevine. Richard's people were pushing Lila out, refusing to help her when things started going south. His company had no use for a traitor who had outlived her usefulness. She was left in the same position she had been before I met her. Alone, vulnerable, with no one to turn to. I watched from a distance as her world began to fall apart. It wasn't sweet, not by any means. It wasn't revenge in the way I had imagined it, watching her suffer, wishing for her to feel the same pain she had caused me. No, it was worse than that. It was the slow unraveling of everything she had built, everything she had worked for. The betrayal she had made, the same one she had done to me, was now being done to her, but with more cruelty than I could have ever inflicted. Lila's phone call stopped coming. She wasn't showing up at the places she used to frequent. The little projects she once worked on with Richard were abandoned. I heard stories from people who once respected her, how she'd been dismissed like an afterthought, how her former allies now whispered about her behind closed doors. I didn't feel satisfaction watching it happen. I felt something else, a kind of emptiness. Lila's ambition, her need to escape, had led her down a path where she had lost herself, and now she had lost everything. It was one evening weeks later when I saw her again. She looked different, older, worn down. She was standing on a street corner waiting for a cab, but when she saw me, she froze. I could see the desperation in her eyes. For the first time, she looked vulnerable, more than I had ever seen her before. She approached me cautiously, almost as if she were afraid I'd turn away, but I didn't. I waited, letting her speak. "You didn't have to ruin me, Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't have to do this." The words hit me like a knife. I had no sympathy left for her, not anymore. All I could feel was the weight of what she had done, the lies, the games. I stood there, facing her, knowing that whatever was left between us was gone. "You chose this path," I said, my voice steady, calm. "I only gave you what you wanted. You were the one who decided to betray me." She opened her mouth to speak again, but no words came out. She just stood there, looking at me like she was waiting for something, anything, from me. But there was nothing left to give. I turned away, leaving her standing there, her dreams crumbling around her. There was no victory in it, no satisfaction. Just the understanding that sometimes, the world takes care of things for you. And when you make your bed, you lie in it. Her fall was her own doing. I had only given her a chance. In the end, I helped her escape poverty. I gave her a chance when no one else would. But she chose to betray me. And the hardest lesson I've learned is, trust is earned, not given freely. I thought I could change her, thought I could offer her a way out of the life she had been stuck in. But the truth is, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't give your trust to someone who only sees you as a stepping stone. And that's what I missed. I gave her too much too soon, expecting loyalty in return, when what I should have been doing was watching, waiting, seeing if she was really the person I thought she was. I took a deep breath as I stood by the window of my office, staring out at the city. The lights twinkled in the distance, and for a brief moment, I allowed myself to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. I had been through hell with this. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the anger. It had almost destroyed me. But it didn't. I had rebuilt everything. My business, my trust in myself. I was wiser now, more cautious, but not defeated. No, I had learned from this, and I was stronger because of it. I walked to my desk and sat down, my fingers brushing over the papers in front of me. Contracts, deals. The work I had fought so hard to get back. Everything I had fought to protect. The weight of the past no longer felt like a burden. It felt like fuel. Fuel for the future. I had made mistakes, sure. I had let someone in when I shouldn't have. But I wasn't going to make the same mistake again. I would trust again, but this time it would be on my terms. The door to my office clicked shut, and I took a final look at the city outside. I wasn't looking back anymore. I was moving forward, stronger, smarter, and ready for whatever came next. Jake walks out of his office, shoulders squared, head held high. He steps into the elevator, the door closing behind him, symbolizing the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. He has learned his lessons. And this time, no one would take advantage of him again.